Change Your POV podcast is about building confidence in your own beliefs, morals, and opinions while challenging yourself to be open, humble, and curious about things that you are unfamiliar with, don't have experience in, or straight up disagree with.
We will explore concepts and ideas that will challenge you physically, mentally, and spiritually. Personal introspection is among the greatest skill sets you will learn to hone. The foundation of your success is rooted in trust, gratitude, and forgiveness.
So join us as we explore things that we are unfamiliar with, strengthen things that we are, and are always challenging ourselves to become better.
Change Your POV podcast, where perspective is the vantage point of success.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
I am fuzzy, but I'm okay. And we'll get into that, why I'm fuzzy.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear.
Yes,
Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair.
And yeah, you know.
Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't fuzzy, was he?
Just a touch of the spirits last night.
Well, 'tis the season anyway, right?
Tis. So
we're coming up on Thanksgiving next week.
Holy crap. I just can't. I love the memes. All the memes of like end 2020, please, for God's sakes, right?
What?
And they've all got like everyone putting their Christmas tree up in like June.
Right.
Right. So I
gotta tell you, 2020 has been both the longest year and also the shortest year, I think, in a lot of ways I've ever experienced. And I don't know, it's very conflicting because it's like, I mean, you think back when this whole COVID when it first started, remember that?
Yeah.
That was at the beginning of the year.
It was like March.
April. March, April. Yeah. And here we are at the end of the year, and it's actually getting worse.
Yeah, right? So
like every day my wife reads me the Kona stats.
The Rona stats.
The Rona stats. And it's like, oh, it's depressing as hell. It's like over 250,000 people in the U.S. have died since this thing started.
For sure. I mean, if you look at it in like epidemic, pandemic views, and some people are like, oh, it's a plandemic, and you know, bottom line is, at the end of the day, it's real. Like the shit's happening, right? People are dying, things are happening. I don't necessarily agree with the way the government has responded. Good or bad, you know.
Well, the good news is, in just a few short days, all of this becomes Biden's fault.
Right. 63 days. Well, 62 days now. 61
days.
Or is it 61?
Yep.
Yeah.
A couple of months.
So I'm excited because now we can blame everything on him.
Right. Yeah, as we should.
It's really funny. No, it's not as we should. I think it's ridiculous that anybody blames a president for all the problems. So fun. Well, it's so funny.
People. I mean, look back in history, right? It's always the president's fault for everything that happens.
Everything. Even though, it is kind of asinine.
It is very asinine. I agree. Well, welcome back, sir, to our second show of the relaunch. This is episode 222.
Triple deuce.
And we've got some good stuff. We're going to cover down on. Actually, we were supposed to cover down on chapter 1 of the book last week, but we ended up just getting the intro and.
Well, because you had technically 2 intros, so you had the prelude and the intro. Right.
and author's notes. So there was a lot of content there.
Oops. Didn't see that coming.
The Jocko's forward. He is a very winded man, but he's very. I love how he puts things. And he's very articulate, and it's really good.
I'm trying not to breathe into the mic because for some reason I can't breathe through my nose this morning.
Oh, you're a mouth breather today?
I'm a mouth breather, so I'll be like... So I apologize ahead of time if people hear me mouth breathing on the mic.
Right. So we're going to talk about chapter 1 of About Face during the book segment, and then we were going to cover down on military news. We're talking ICBMs today.
And stuff.
And then later in the full segment, we're going to be talking about real as fuck.
Real as fuck. Well, personal development.
personal development.
Yeah. And one of the things that I just did to get me some personal development, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. So
hence part of the name, right?
Yes. So February 6th, 1951, man.
Yeah, February 6th is kind of the genesis story of Mr. Hackworth, right?
Insane.
I mean, just to kind of go back a little bit. So he joined the military at the age of, what was it, 15?
It's like 15. Somehow he pulled that shit off.
Yeah, he lied and had some like documents.
That was
or
loud.
I guess back then there wasn't any way of really verifying.
Well,
You know,
I mean,
that
it
kind of
was just
stuff.
a lot easier to forge and,
Right.
make stuff look legit, even if it's not. So.
Well, not like that, but I have a suspicion that 15-year-olds back then were a bit harder than 15-year-olds today. Just
Maybe.
What do you think?
Yeah, a little bit. You know.
Right? I mean, it wasn't uncommon back then for people of much younger ages than today, working in factories and earning a living, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
heck yeah. Right. I mean, by that point, they had child labor laws and stuff, but,
yeah, but
people
let's get
worked
real.
hard, especially
Yeah.
like farms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was the deal.
Yeah, so he joined at 15. I guess it's something, basically this is something he'd always aspired to do ever since he was young laddie. And, yeah, man, joined the military at age 15. And then the book picks up, like you said, it's 6 February 1951. And by this time, he was a sergeant, right, serving in Korea. So I'm sure there was a lot that happened between the time he enlisted and the time he's serving here in Korea as a sergeant in 51. But that's kind of where this starts. And I think this chapter is really relevant to kind of introduce. We already mentioned him last episode, but De Boer, right?
Yep.
I think that's really kind of this chapter kind of introduces that. And I'm just going to read a quick segment here, and then you can hop in.
Yep.
So this here, we always are talking about changing our perspective, and this part of the chapter really stood out to me as a way to demonstrate that. So I'll just get it right into it. It says, the lieutenant was not with it. It seemed as though he had no comprehension of the fix we were in. Slugs were splattering hard on the side of the tank. The self-propelled AT fire, which was screaming down the valley, dug deep furrows all around us. And yet the tank sat there silently, like big fat clay ducks in a shooting gallery. "Sergeant," the lieutenant finally said in a shell-shocked kind of daze, "look, you see that out there on the ice?" "Yes, I saw. It was a pile cap, a little fur ball on the ice amid my platoon's dead and wounded, the bullets and blood." "That's my cap," he said. "Would you get it for me?" I considered shooting that sorry son of a bitch right then and there, climbing inside of his tank and taking command. Fortunately, reason prevailed. I just grabbed him and shook him until he looked as if he was back in the real world. Then I instructed him to have his 3 tanks concentrate on the self-propelled AT fire to our front and use the others to start placing main gun fire on the hills. To give him a bit of encouragement, I manned the tank's 50 cal turret machine gun and blasted one of the hills myself until I'd used up all the ammo and the commander got his men into action. Now, and it goes on, but this is just a brief segment out of this chapter that it drew my attention for a couple reasons. One, because I've seen people in combat with that dazed, far off, they call it the 1,000-meter stare, right?
Yeah.
It's people that just have kind of temporarily lost it, that aren't, their mind isn't where their body and in the situation is currently. and they kind of have to get snapped out of reality. So that's kind of the first thing that caught my attention, because I've experienced that personally, after being in combat and being on patrol and getting hit and coming back and having to kind of snap some of my guys back into the reality of things. But the other thing that I really wanted to kind of bring up is the fact that here's a sergeant that is essentially giving commands to lieutenants on the ground and adjusting their maneuvering force onto the enemy the way it should be. And this is an example, and Jocko even talks about it in his book. It's called, managing up the chain of command.
Yep.
Right? Often, as we know, the chain of command is very hierarchical, and we take commands, from top down. And as many listeners of our show know, because many are veterans, so they understand kind of the pecking order of things. A lieutenant, outranks a sergeant. So you got a platoon leader that's basically supposed to be maneuvering that element, and that sergeant is essentially executing on those orders. Well, that didn't happen here. And in the middle of a combat situation, Hackworth knew. He's like, he couldn't just let this lieutenant not provide the guidance that his men desperately needed in order to, at the end of the day, wake up and see the sunrise another day, right?
Yep.
So how does this pertain, like, in the real world, in the corporate environment, or like in a job that I work and you work? Sometimes we have bosses and supervisors and managers and leaders within our organization, but sometimes they get that 1,000-yard stare, or they don't, or they're not as connected to or as close to some of the real-time issues that you're experiencing as a frontline troop. And so sometimes you have to find a way to tactfully manage up the chain of command. And it's a delicate thing, right? Because you want to make sure that you're not overstepping and over-inserting yourself. But at the same time, you want to make sure that the decisions that are being made are best for the organization. Best for you, not just you personally, but best for you, your team, and the company, and your customers. And I've seen this play out many, many times at several jobs that I've had, where the need to manage up the chain of command presents itself, and sometimes people do. They push through that personal nervousness to do so, and I've also seen it fail, where people know that they probably should manage up, but they don't because they're afraid of backlash or recourse or something like that, and ultimately the project suffers as a result, or the company suffers, or
Right.
the contract suffers. I don't know if you've seen that in your place of employment.
Yeah. Good Lord. I mean, yeah. I mean, you're gonna find it everywhere, really. There's no way to hide from it. And that's the one thing, though, about good leaders, is that they'll encourage that.
Right.
Right? Because you're all a team, and at the end of the day, a good leader asks maybe not the opinion, but he asks his people if they've got anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you have any ideas? You got something. That doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen, and or that he's going to take, or she is going to take that advice, right? But
yeah, I'm very leery
look
about
at it from all angles.
I'm very leery about leaders or managers, supervisors within an organization that fail to solicit the ideas and opinion of their subordinates.
Yeah, it's
and
like, why are we paying? Like, literally, why am I even here if you're not going to ask?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, I think I read somewhere, they said that a leader should be concerned when their direct reports, stop asking questions, or stop, you know what I mean? If you are a
Absolutely.
manager and your direct reports all of a sudden stop coming to you about, hey, what about this? Or should we try this? Or if they just come in, they clock in, they keep their head down, they just do their job and they clock out. Like, as a manager, you should be very concerned, because you've got a problem.
Or
right?
And that's a tricky little thing, because, like, in my line of work, I don't ever go to my boss. Very, very little.
Right.
And that's because I kind of do my own thing, right? So I guess you kind of have to look at the employee, and if that person is fulfilling their job, the stuff that they need to do, and they do it very effectively, and they go above and beyond without the direction, then I think there's a difference, and a good leader would know that, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's the difference between having somebody that's essentially like you, a self-starter, that doesn't need that constant, feedback loop.
That constant supervision as well.
Right. Right. And I guess when I said that, I wasn't based. I wasn't.
No.
I wasn't inferring that you're looking for employees that are coming to you like constantly asking, "What do I do? What do I do?" Right.
Right. Because
what I mean is like
but
right. I'm looking for
problems, right?
I'm looking for people that approach their management with like continuous improvement ideas, right?
Or solutions, like come to me with solutions, right?
Right. Yeah. It's like, hey, I noticed that we're doing things this way, and I think maybe perhaps if we tried it this way, we could have a better result.
Well, I know you're really big on don't come to me because you don't have time at your job. Don't come to me with a problem unless you have a solution, or you've really tried to work through it.
Right.
Don't just come to me and expect me to answer your questions. Right.
Right. Yep.
So come with your bitches and complaints and end your problems, but have a solution too.
Have a solution, right?
Or at least try to have one.
Because oftentimes I'll ask the question, that's a very legitimate concern that you have there. That yes, that's a problem. How do you plan on handling that? How do you plan on managing that? And I put it back on them because now I'm looking for them to solve their own problems, right?
Right.
And I'm going to support it. Now, sometimes their solution to the problem isn't what I would recommend, but that doesn't mean that I'm the only one that has the right answers to solving a particular problem either, right?
I mean, at the end of the day, we have more information at our fingertips than any other time in history.
Right.
So, bust out the Google machine.
Yes.
And see if someone has already answered this problem. Right. And get after it.
I refer to Google at least 2-3 times every day.
Got it.
Right.
For me, it's probably 100.
Yeah, and it's for stupid little things, right? I'm trying to do something in Excel, and I know that it's possible, but I can't remember how to do it. I'll just go and Google it, find my answer, and I'm done. Right.
You literally can learn anything from YouTube nowadays.
Right. So we get into the second part of kind of this chapter. I think it's relevant. Is De Boer, right? And De Boer, as we know, when we read the foreword, De Boer taught him and his men, Hackworth and his men, how to die. And obviously, that kind of gives it away, but he had a troop, De Boer, and he was, for all intents and purposes, he was what we in the Army we used to call shammer, right? And a shammer is basically someone that lives at sick call, gets up, doesn't want to do PT, doesn't want to do the hard things, right? Picks the easiest
as soon
tasks
as something
to
goes
do.
Down, he's I gotta go to sick call.
Right. And this is De Boer, right? So De Boer had this uncanny sixth sense about him, and he knew, whenever his platoon or his company was going to get into the thick of it,
when the shit was going to go down.
Right, he would be doing the whole sick call thing. Well, the day before this went, so on 5th February 1951, the day before this all went down, he did not. I guess the day before he went to sick call and he got a clean bill of health, and he didn't go back the following day because he saw that there was overcast and there was fog, and he just anticipated that they were going to have a delay in the mission, right? Well, to his surprise, they did not delay the mission. They decided to go forward with it anyway. So here De Boer is. He finds himself out on the battlefield, a very bloody battlefield, and is just a straight up coward. I mean, for the lack of a better term, just not only did everybody think he was a coward, but he admitted
that he was a coward.
Right? Like he's like, "Yep, I am that guy. Well, not to read, I don't want to read the whole book to you. We'll just talk about it. So, to make a long story short, DeBoer ends up getting hit, right? And I'll just read a little bit here. It says, now DeBoer was ashen-faced, hit in the chest, or God, I didn't know. There was a lot of blood. And well into shock, I knew he wasn't going to make it. Come on, DeBoer, Hackworth says. You're going to be fine. You'll be all right, I said, giving him old pep talk as I grabbed his jacket collar and started sliding him across the ice. But DeBoer said, no, Sarge, just leave me. You're going to get hit. Just leave me, Sarge. Then suddenly he groaned, quote, Sarge, I shit my pants. And that was it. He was gone. Right? I left him and I ran back. DeBoer in death became one of the great heroes of our outfit. It was true he'd never been anything in his army life but a coward. But he died right. He died like a man. He didn't say, take care of me. He said, leave me. Take care of yourself. And when I told the other guys the story, old DeBoer became a legend in the platoon.
Yeah, went down. Went out like a man.
Yep, went out like a man. So it's, he lost a lot of guys.
Oh my God.
Hackworth did, but this one stood out to him, and which is why he mentioned it in the book, obviously.
I love it. He's like, where they say it's normally that excuse was going on sick call, which by regulation he was allowed to do, and you couldn't stop him even though you knew the only thing that was wrong was him having a chronic case of cowardice. Cowardice. That's what it was, cowardice, obviously, but they wrote it as like cowardice. So,
cowardice, yeah.
Because of the break, at least in my book. So DeBoer himself even admitted he was a coward, and we hated him for it.
Right.
Jesus Christ. I think we all have that outcast,
I think so.
I only had one platoon that didn't really have that. One. In 10 years, You always kind of have the one guy who... yeah.
And those folks tended to get drummed out pretty early.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. So that was it was a big day for Hackworth, 6 February 1951. It kind of set the stage for... There's some foreshadowing here, right? Because there was a lieutenant that ended up getting killed, and he called back to his company commander and kind of reported back. And
Lieutenant Gilchrist, right?
Yeah, and he was also a battlefield commissioned officer, and he ended up taking one to the forehead. And Hackworth reported back to Mike Lee and said, "Hey, Lieutenant Gilchrist is dead, and they took a lot of casualties." And it was that time, he heard over the radio, "You're now in charge," right? So eventually, as we know, Hackworth becomes battlefield commissioned down the road. And that's kind of that's kind of a thing that I wanted to also mention is oftentimes, and it's funny, right? Because we're getting close to the end of the year, and we do. I don't know how your business does it, but we have like end of year reviews, performance evaluations. Right?
I just had mine.
Right, and those performance evaluations oftentimes, help determine or depict what kind of merit increase or promotion opportunities that you may be available or maybe open to you, that kind of a thing, right? And so one of the things that and I have this conversation every single year, whether it be with my directs or with others, and it's like everybody wants a promotion. Everybody wants a higher title and they want more money, but they're not really willing or doing things more than what they're already being paid for today. So it's like, I want to continue to do what I'm doing, but I want more money to do it, or I want a higher title to do it. And one of the things that I've always kind of said was, listen, do the things that you like, fill the role of the position you want, the higher position, right? Get good at that, and do the work of the higher title, do the work of the higher compensation, do that work. And if you do that work, eventually the pay and title will follow, right? It's like instead of you almost have to think about it backwards. You've got to do the work first, and then the promotion will catch up to you. But everybody wants the promotion and title first, and then what? They're just going to wake up one day with that promotion, and all of a sudden they're going to start doing more work, or higher
right.
level work,
or
higher,
do you even
right?
know how to do the work? Like, people think they know how to do the work without doing the work.
Right. And I think that's, and to sum it up, I think the way to think about that is you should strive to be battlefield commissioned. And no one gets a battlefield commission without already doing the work. Like, if you're a sergeant and you get battlefield commissioned to a lieutenant, like, you're already in that role. You're already doing that work. You already have the respect. You already have the knowledge. You've got the skill set. People are already following your orders and direction. You have everything.
Like, you've been doing that job.
Right, you're doing it. The only thing you don't have is the title and the rank.
I mean, they don't just like walk up to you and go, "Okay, you're battlefield commissioned." Like,
right.
This is how the chain of command works, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna do, like, how many times? Not that there really is battlefield commissions anymore. There aren't. That just doesn't happen. But at that time, it did. So you fill in, though. You backfill. So as a sergeant, if you're the senior man, then you're going to do the LT's job. You're just going to be in charge. You know what I mean? That's what it is. That's just how it works. But they're not just going to turn around and, like, 2 days later make him an LT. He's going to be a sergeant for a bit.
Right.
You know, they don't just battlefield commission you over the radio.
Right.
It's not how it works. You know, now you're a lieutenant. No, it's got to, it happens later. I mean, but if they see that, if the battalion commander sees that type of talent in you, it's not going to take long. Right.
Exactly.
So, and that's exactly what Eddie is saying here.
Yeah. So if you are, if you want that promotion, if you want that title, you want that, like, that's good to aspire to that. It's good to want that and desire that. But you should start thinking about how can you be battlefield commissioned.
Yeah.
Which
means do the work.
You got to do the work first. Do the work, get the skill set, get the knowledge, gain the respect. And I'm telling you, hire, managers within your organization, senior leaders, that stuff doesn't go unnoticed. It just doesn't. People notice that stuff. Yeah. And if you do it like once, like you have a good, maybe you just show up to work and you just have a really good day. And you do it once, and then you can go back to like the way you, like, no one's going to notice that, right? That just means you had a great day. Like, congratulations, pat yourself on the back, hats off to you. But if you're constantly showing up and it becomes a habit, it becomes who you are, your identity. Like, everyone knows that, if something needs to get done, go bring it to Bennett. If something, if somebody has a question that needs answered, Bennett generally always has the answer. And if he doesn't have the answer, he knows who does and can help me out, right? Like, that's the kind of thing. You don't have to be a manager or senior leader within your organization to be a leader, right? You don't have to have the title to be a leader within your organization. You don't have to have that promotion in order to have the respect. You can have all of that, right? It was funny. Have you ever heard of the show 60 Days In? So they just released, I don't know why they did it, but they just released season 5 on Netflix. And I just watched, I didn't know it was season 5. I thought it was just a new show, and me and my wife watched all of the season 5. And then when we got done, we're like, oh, this is season 5. Let's go back and watch season 1.
1 through 4.
Right. And 1 through 4, and well, there's 6 seasons, so we didn't even watch the latest one. It was 6 seasons, and only 5 was available on Netflix. And so we're like, well, let's go back and watch 1 through 4, and then we'll do 6. And we couldn't find it on Netflix. We ended up finding it on A&E, but I guess the point of that story is
60 days in, huh?
60 days in, and they take these civilian participants and they bring them into like a jail, and they don't let anybody know. Like it's a sanctioned kind of thing. So like this, like the sheriff and like one other person would know,
Yep.
but like the guards don't know, the other inmates they don't know, and they're basically in there for 60 days, and if they are able to finish, then they provide the sheriff with valuable information because they've tried to let like undercover police or undercover corrections officers go into these environments, but they always come back and they've got a bias. They got a biased opinion, and it always favors the officers, right? So they got these civilians where they've got no skin in the game, right? So they can be honest about things that they see that's wrong with the corrections officers, or things that's wrong with the staff, or things that's
how much
happening
do they pay
with
these
them.
people?
It's free. They don't pay them anything.
What?
It's like a volunteered. Yeah, it's like
what
a
is
volunteered
just so they can be on TV or something, or what?
I don't know.
There's got to be some compensation because you can kiss my ass. I'm not doing that shit. Right?
So yeah, it's pretty. It's like Big Brother on steroids, kind of,
because
they got yeah. It is very interesting. And what was I saying?
I don't know how this is pertaining.
So when you watch these, I was a corrections officer, so I look at this a little bit with a more critical eye. I mean, it's entertaining for sure, but some of the things that I see, it's like, oh my God, that would never fly in the facility that I worked at. But anyway, it's interesting. The reason I bring this up is because you have inmates, right? You got like 40, 50, 60, 70 guys in these cell blocks, and they don't have anything. They don't have money. I mean, they might have money on their account to buy commissary, but a lot of these guys are indigent, right? They don't have any means. But it never fails. You end up with people in those cell blocks that end up bubbling to the surface they're called pod bosses, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
they're the people that call the shots, and the people look up to them. It's like, inmates can figure out how to be a leader within the jail, having nothing and no real influence. That you could do the same thing in your organization, right? You don't have to be a person of, titled power or authority. You could just be a leader within your team, within your department, within your facility, whatever the case may be. And that's all I wanted. So if you ever get a chance, you got to check that out. 60 Days In is what it's called.
Wow.
Earlier on this week, we ended up kind of messaging each other back and forth, and there was an article that I brought to your attention and I thought would be interesting to talk about. And it's about recently
it's freaking crazy is what it is.
Right?
It's pretty awesome.
On November 17th, 2020, the military published some information. The U.S. shoots down an ICBM in space from a warship for the first time in a successful test. So let's...
Obviously a test. People were like, wait, who shot it? Like
right.
When I was telling them about it?
Yeah.
Who shot it?
You're like, no,
we did.
It was just a test.
At ourselves. Okay?
So for those that might not be up to speed on ICBMs or, launching ICBMs from a ship and hitting things in space, can you talk us through, Bennett, like the complexity that this is?
Well, ICBMs, obviously, I'm not some expert here, folks, but at the end of the day, this is just kind of layman's stuff. Most ICBMs go into orbit. Like, they literally go into, because gravity's a son of a bitch.
Right, yeah.
And you have to use a lot of fuel to move. You know what I mean? Like, think about like that. Getting into orbit, how much fuel that takes. So they use the rocket, get it into space, kind of go, and then re-enters the atmosphere, right? And then uses gravity instead of whatever.
Right.
So it's like a real bomb. So it's like the delivery vehicle gets it into space, and then the ICBM comes off, and then they use gravity, right? So that's when it's at its most vulnerable, though, is when it's in space. And for years, they've been trying to get this right. And that's kind of like if people are old enough, back in the 80s with Reagan had Star Wars, the Star Wars program, right?
Right.
So this kind of is like that, except for they used a land, or I should say a sea-based missile to intercept the ICBM in space.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
An ICBM is intercontinental ballistic missile. So
yes,
it's basically you have the ability to launch a missile, it enters space or exits the atmosphere.
I mean, very, very low orbit. It's not like,
and it travels
out to the moon.
Halfway around the world and can hit a target on, in a different continent. Intercontinental, that's basically what it means, right?
Yep.
Because in World War II, it really was about, how far, it's called standoff distance, how far could weapons reach, right? And back then it was really, how far could like a artillery shell fire. They were just starting to get into rockets. So now it's like basically, if you got this technology, you can launch it from anywhere.
And not everyone has it.
Right.
Basically it's not an ICBM unless it's got, ICBMs have a minimum range of 5,500 kilometers.
Wow. That's a long way.
So it's a so most countries don't have, like, you guys remember hearing about like Scuds and there's a whole bunch of litany of other types of missiles that countries have but like a Scud missile only has a 400-mile range.
Yeah. Right.
Because you have intermediate range ballistic missiles, so IRBMs. You have medium range, short range, and then tactical ballistic missiles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the other ones, and they all have their, different stuff. They're different ranges and whatnot.
Right. So an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, was shot down in space from a warship for the first time during a successful demonstration on Tuesday, according to the Missile Defense Agency, or MDA. The ICBM target missile launched from a test range in the Marshall Islands, located in the Pacific Ocean between Hawaii and the Philippines, around 12:50 a.m., and was shot down in space by a missile launched from the guided missile destroyer USS John Finn at sea, the MDA announced. It was destroyed by an advanced SM-3 block IIA ballistic missile defense inceptor made by Raytheon Missiles and Defense and co-developed with Japan's Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, a statement said. This was an incredible accomplishment and critical milestone for the AG's BDM SM-3 block IIA program, said MDA Director Vice Admiral John Hill. We have demonstrated that an AG's BDM-equipped vessel equipped with the SM-3 block IIA missile can defeat an ICBM-class target, which is a step in the process for determining its feasibility as part of an architecture for layered defenses of the homeland. So this kind of raised the question. I won't read the rest of the article. You get the idea. But it raised the question when you and I were talking about it is this kind of now going to, do we think this is going to become kind of the underlining mission of the new Space Force, do we think?
Well, yeah, it was, and that was kind of started us down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
So one of the bases that I know is part of Space Force, like they still don't technically have a Space Force headquarters yet,
right?
Right? They just don't. They're pulling almost completely all the leadership is from the Air Force.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
We already have there's already a secretary. Well, the Secretary of the Air Force is also the Secretary of Space Force. Right.
Yep.
But it is its own, branch, I guess you would call it.
Yeah,
right?
it's its own branch now. Yeah.
So one of the big bases is Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. It's in Lompoc, California, right?
Yeah.
I did drug interdiction out of there back in the 90s. That was a really nice base. It's Air Force, yada, yada, yada. You know, we all know how good that is for the most part.
Yeah. Except
Air Force people were like, no, it sucks. I was like, well, then you never lived with the Marines. Okay?
Right, yeah.
So I remember out there for years they launch stuff into space from Vandenberg. They just do, right? Not only satellites and things like that, but they also used to have Titan missiles there. The Titan II. So, which I think were like decommissioned in the early 2000s, right? So now we don't have Titans anymore. We have, what are the ICBMs that we have now? I think they're a version of the Minutemen, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's all that we have, really. But either way, I got to watch a Titan missile get launched at night. Holy shit, bro.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it's so, just the power is just ridiculous.
Oh, I bet.
You know, it's like watching a space shuttle launch.
Right.
And you know, back in the day when we actually had a space program. Those rockets are just insane. So, either way, so Space Force, right? So Vandenberg is one of the places where they run out of, and there's a ton of them places in Colorado. So we had this conversation. So I looked up the mission. What is the mission?
Yeah.
Of the United States Space Force mission, and the USSF is a military service that organizes, trains, and equips space forces in order to protect U.S. and allied interests in space and to provide space capabilities to the joint force. The USSF responsibilities include developing military space professionals. I'm sorry, I have to laugh. Acquiring military space systems and maturing the military doctrine for space power and organizing space forces to present to our combatant commands.
So
like seriously, like, all right, so this goes back to a book. If you go back in what episode, this is something we should have looked up.
Right. You're talking about Starship Troopers?
Yes. Oh my God.
Right.
So we read the book Starship Troopers, which I've read it a million times.
Yeah.
But Eddie read it finally, and we weren't talking about the movie. We were talking about the book.
The book,
because
yeah,
the book
totally
is
different.
Amazing. If you've never read it, you should go read it, because especially if you're in the military.
Right.
Go read it. It's badass. So, no, because the movie's horrific. We were talking, I mean, there's like a cult following, and yeah, there's some hot naked chicks in it, and yada, yada, yada. But the book, if they redid the movie, what a movie it could be.
Right. Right.
So, this is what they're talking about, though. This is like the beginning stages of Starship Troopers.
Right.
Right here.
Right.
Right there. Space Marines. Seriously.
That is
right?
crazy.
It's nuts to even think, oh, well, this is the birthplace.
So do you think
of the fleet?
So do you think people
fleet.
So back in the day, right? The Air Force never existed. It was the Army Air Corps, right? So it was the United States Army
so
and Army Air Corps.
People are like, Air Force?
Right.
Ooh,
So
what the fuck is that?
I'm thinking, did people back then have the same conversation that we're having now about Space Force, about the Air Force?
I would think, why wouldn't they? Of course they
Probably.
did.
They're
We
like,
don't need no stink. It's just like we had the conversation last week. We don't need the Marines.
right.
The Army can do it.
Right.
Because the Air Force truly is not a very large armed forces. I mean, their bases are usually small. There's a shit ton of them, though.
Yeah, right.
But it's the smallest of the big major forces. Well, besides the Marines. But technically, the Marines are part of the Navy.
Well,
so it's like
that's my question.
This is the Air Force's Space Force.
That was my
Air
question.
Force's Marines.
So if the Marine Corps is technically part of the Department of the Navy, is the Space Force always going to be part of the Department of the Air Force, do we think?
I would think so.
Right.
At least for the time being, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Under
the purview of.
And then the other question is that I have about this is how does NASA play into this at all, or do they at all, right? Because technically NASA's kind of not really a thing anymore.
They're kind of like I mean, it still exists, obviously, but it doesn't. I mean, all the launch stuff all the launch capability that they have now, is all contracted,
right,
by SpaceX,
right, and I'm almost
and other companies like that.
Right, I'm almost wondering if Space Force isn't. And now again, we just read the mission, and there's some literature out there you can read online. There's like the mission that they tell the civilian population what it's for, and then there's like other reasons why it exists that will probably never, or they'll never come out and actually say. And I'm wondering if part of the reason Space Force exists is to help control the private sector, right? The Elon Musks of the world, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's a good look at it.
I mean, because at the end of the day, as space exploration becomes more privatized, like, how do you regulate it? There has to be some regulation, otherwise, like, right now is Elon Musk and his space, is that being regulated in any way today?
Yeah, because it's contracted by NASA. So, I mean, yeah, he does, but there's no facilities. Like, imagine the cost of that, bro.
Oh, I know, right?
Like, to build your own launch facility. So, Elon's like piggybacking onto the whole, like, it's his rockets and stuff.
Right.
And, like, his people are all, they're all contractors. They're all.
Have you seen any YouTube videos of the, what's it called? It's like the, it's the rockets that re-enter and re-land.
Oh yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah, like
why didn't we do this a long time ago?
Right?
Like why? Like, oh well, it's because the lowest bidder was building our space vehicles.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though they cost billions of dollars, it's still the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
What is that movie where you hear Steve Buscemi gives like the strapping your ass to a rocket? And that was made by the lowest bidder. How does that make you feel?
Right, I don't know.
It's that one with Bruce Willis in it,
right?
Where they go up and save the world by blowing up the asteroid.
Armageddon.
Oh, yep, that's it. Yes. Ben Affleck, Steve Buscemi, Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler's on it,
right?
Yeah. You've got all those. So Buscemi's strapped to the rocket and. How's it feel to be flying up in the air with, on something built by the lowest bidder?
Right. Exactly right.
Oh, shit.
Space Force. So
Space Force.
Like you already mentioned, they're pulling the leadership out of the Air Force, but like is there a way where, some newly high school graduate can hop on down to the Space Force Recruiting Center and sign up?
It's the Air Force.
So okay, so
if you go to the website and you click on careers, it does take you though. So it's U.S. Air Force, but so it does take you to the sky is not the limit. United States Air Force. U.S. Space Force, we are challenged every day to find new heights working within the space domain Our people launch rockets, keep satellites safe and operational, and develop technology to defend our way of life. Right?
Yep. Okay.
It's Starship Troopers, my friend.
That is so. It's just bizarre to me to think about. But I mean, I guess. Do you think the new? Do you think the new?
So you've got space. Oh my God! So there's a lot of cyberspace stuff going on here too.
Right,
though.
that makes sense.
So like you've got a couple officer jobs. Like I'm looking. So I'm gonna go down. You've got officer jobs like cyberspace operations officer, space operations officer. You've got acquisitions manager,
which is a fancy way of saying procurement.
Procurement, right? Development engineer and intelligence officer. But then, like for enlisted folks, you've got radio frequency transmission system specialists, computer systems programming, client systems, targeting analysts.
A lot of IT type of stuff.
Yeah, fusion analysts, cable and antenna systems, cyber security. Ooh, no, hold on. Cyber surety. Surety. Yeah, cyber surety, not cyber security.
Surety, huh?
Surety. Surety.
Huh.
What the hell's that?
Do they have like a special like alien?
No, not that we know about.
Not yet.
Shit.
That's crazy. I like
protecting our information. The continued advancement of computers and technology has drastically expanded. Blah blah blah. So cyber surety.
Huh. I would love to hear from anyone that enlists into
the Space Force.
Space Force.
Bring it.
Come on the show. Let us know about your experience. I would love to. What would I'm sure the physical test would be the same. Like what?
Basic military training, 8.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Technical training for this job, that cyber surety.
It's like 6 years long.
No, it's 50 days.
That's it?
That's it, bro.
Wow. Do you know why? That's the guy that just runs around, makes sure everything's plugged in.
See, this is the one thing that I love about the Air Force, right? Because they're big on education.
Sure. Right.
They have you can get an associate's degree coming out of the Air Force, right?
Yeah.
From just doing your job. So like they have enlisted airmen with credits earned towards information systems technology.
Boom.
Just for doing your job.
Right.
Like as an infantryman, I got like 6 college credits.
I didn't even get that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't. Well, you did. You got
like
physical.
It was
like you never.
Stupid.
You did not have to do any physical.
So when I first got out and when I first started my bachelor's degree, and I pulled up essentially my awards and my DD-214 and everything that I got from the military.
Like, so
you know what I got? I got there was a mandatory class. It was called Intro to College or something like that.
Intro to being a dummy.
And I didn't have to take that course. That was it.
That's amazing.
That was
because
it.
I got. You know what though? I did have a decent amount of electives were taken care of.
Huh.
Because I went to a very military friendly school too.
Oh yeah.
Where like, bro, I had a college credit in orienteering.
That's stupid.
Hey, it's one less freaking credit I had to take a course for.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Orienteering. Well, I mean, if they're going to give me it for orienteering, of course, yes, I can do land nav.
Right.
I'm badass.
Right.
But I'm glad. Thanks for giving me a college credit for it. That's awesome. Don't say it's stupid.
Well,
stupid.
I'm glad you got a college credit, but what degree program would that even apply to?
It doesn't matter. It was
General.
An elective.
An elective. Wow.
So it's one less elective thing that I had to take.
Well, maybe I didn't push it hard enough because I literally got one, and the class wasn't even a full semester. It was like a half a credit. So I got like a half a credit I didn't have to do.
It's like one of those non-credit math classes you have to take just to like qualify to take algebra.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Amazing.
But
orienteering. That's me.
I finished my degree without any extra help from the Army. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, you just did it the dumb way then.
Yes, I did.
Smartest dumb guy I know. New fuckery.
Our new what's it? Segment 3, our primary topic, and this is something that you've been doing for a while. So why don't you?
Well, you too. I mean, we're always in a constant flux of
that's true
personal development because that's kind of what we're calling this.
Personal development. So talk to us about your adventure.
All right. So this is why I don't feel the best right now. Probably why I'm stuffed up. So I just completed a program called 75 Hard, which you may have heard of. But if you haven't, it was created by a gentleman named Andy Frisella, who has a really good podcast called Real AF. And he is the founder and CEO of First Form, which is a supplement company, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. Among some other companies too. He's got a spirits company. He's not a veteran though. But he is very veteran supporter. He's a huge veteran supporter. But, so he came up with this. He also runs a thing called Arte Syndicate with Ed Milet. If you've ever heard of Ed Milet, who is a huge personality in the personal development space, and I don't know if he's a couple $100 millionaire. He's like very, very good businessman. But maybe he has $1 billion. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, the ones that really matter, they don't talk about it because it's like an afterthought, right? Because it's about doing the work. And he has a really good podcast too. But with all that being said, 75 Hard. It's a program that Andy came up with because he was sick of being a fat bastard and constantly failing at things and this, that, and the other thing. And he just wanted to really level up, right? And attack some of his issues. So how often do we, and Eddie, I know you, how often do we go through and look at different systems? That's what I'll call them. And I'm doing air quotes too, you know?
Yeah, quite often.
Systems. Like, we're looking at systems to level yourself up, right?
Yep.
And it's always, join my system for $29.95 and it'll get you, in shape and you'll be the best human you've ever been, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that shit never worked for me. Has it ever really worked for you?
No. It's I think a lot of it is because I could be totally off base here, but I think it's because a lot of those systems, they're based around profitability for the creator and not necessarily for the success of the client, right?
Correct, right?
And I think that Andy does it different with the 75 Hard.
Yes, he does. So, first off, it's free. Now, a lot of people are like, well, you have a better chance if you have skin in the game, like your money and all that, right?
Yeah.
So if you pay for it, it's worth more.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there
is some
psychological
psychology
thing there, maybe.
that.
But at the end of the day, man, if it's something that like we talked about on the last show, right? We change the narrative, right? If we change it from wants to musts, right? If you must lose weight, you must get into shape, then whether you have money on skin in the game in the form of money or a bet with a friend or anything like that, like all that's irrelevant, right? If
Right.
it's just if it's like a challenge or something fun to do, and you're competing against somebody, it's really not a must. It's more of a would like to do. Then yeah, I think having money kind of or some type of a gamified competition or something like that, yeah, I could see the benefit of it. But I don't know, man. I think there's a difference between making a life altering permanent change and just doing something for a temporary time period.
Right. So at the end of the day, this is not a fitness program either.
Right.
And a lot of people kind of, that's how it seems. But what it is, it's a mental toughness program.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people that are veterans are like, well, I have mental toughness. Yeah, you may have, and yes, you might, because you have to have that to succeed in life now. So there's a lot of people that don't need this program, right?
Right.
But I almost guarantee you that if you think you don't need it,
You probably do.
that you probably do.
You probably
I'm
do.
just saying, challenge yourself to do it, right? So it's not a fitness program. There is fitness involved. There's diet involved. There's stuff, but what you find is that it really is a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Because you realize that you are what is in your way no matter what. And it's easy to say that, right? But all of a sudden, and Andy calls it your bitch voice. Bro, your bitch voice starts screaming after like the third day,
Right.
fourth day, right? Like, why the fuck are you doing this to me? You don't need to do this. What? You're successful. You make 6 figures a year. You have successful businesses. What the fuck are you waking up at 4:30 in the morning to do this for? What are and that's not a requirement. You don't have to wake up, but if you don't have time, you have to make fucking time, right?
Yep.
So, let me just cut to the chase here. This is really a mental toughness thing. And people know exactly what I'm talking about. Like the mental struggles that you go through, physical struggles that you go through, just, living life. This will kind of sharpen that stuff. Mind, body, spirit, right?
Yeah. So can you walk us through kind of what the program entails? And then I'm also interested in how you heard about it and what made you decide to do this program versus another one.
Right. So the tantamount things that this will help you build, right? And then I'll get into the system.
Okay.
Are confidence, self-esteem, self-worth, self-belief, fortitude, and grittiness. Something probably everyone should want, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, what it really comes down to is it's 75 days to start. It's actually a year-long program.
Okay.
75 hard is just the beginning. Okay? And frankly, I'm not going to go into the rest of it because to get the rest of it, you should just go through it. Just do it. It's
Right.
not like, and again, it doesn't cost a dime to do it. I mean, there's some things that you can buy, like the app and the book, to kind of like enhance it, but you don't need them. So what it comes down to is you have daily tasks that you have to complete, right? You have to do some sort of diet. Now, if you eat well and you're not worried about diet, then just eat the way that you're eating. You don't have to choose like, oh, I'm going to be vegan, or I'm going to be carnivore, or I'm going to go on the Whole30 diet, or I'm going to be paleo, or whatever. You can just pick one and then stick with it for 75 days, right?
Yep.
It's easy enough. But if you eat well already, and I mean not well like as in Twinkies and pizza, like eat a diet that is going to make you feel better, right?
Yeah.
But there's no specifics. You have to work out twice a day, for 45 minutes each workout. Can't do 3 or 4 sets of 10 reps. Can't do 5 sets of 10 reps. Can't do 10 sets of 10 reps. Can't do 5 sets of 10 reps. Can't do 10 sets of 10 reps. Can't do 5 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 sets of 10 re I mean, you can do back-to-back workouts, but you're not going to go walk for an hour and a half. Don't do that. That's not how it works. Lift weights and then go walk. Now, one of those 45-minute workouts has to be outside.
Regardless.
Rain, shine, snow. Don't go running around if there's tornadoes or a hurricane, but figure it out, right?
Yep.
Do it outside. So that's it. 45 minutes inside, 45 minutes outside. You can do both outside. Just don't do them Don't do them consecutively.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Unless, like you said, you do like
workout and then walk.
Right.
A lot of time, I do two separates. Like, for example, I'll give you what I do. I wake up and go to the gym at around 4 or 4:30 every morning. That's what I have done for the last, we'll get into that, but at least 75 days.
Yeah.
Right? So then in the afternoon, I usually go on a walk with my wife. So we can talk about the day, talk about what assholes my kids are, talk about, that type of fun stuff.
Right. Yep.
So I can link up with her. Some days I'm not able to. Some days she walks at a different time. Sometimes things don't jive up. Like lately, my 16-year-old daughter has been going to the gym. But I already do my gym workout in the morning. Like that's when I can fit it into my schedule. So my wife and I, but not every day, my wife and I have been taking her to the Y where she works out. And then there's a golf course right next door and we walk the paths there.
Right.
Right? There you go. And it's not just a mosey. We're walking 16-minute miles,
Sure.
So we're getting after it a little bit, 15, 16-minute miles. So that's my workout. So you do that. You have to drink a gallon of water every day, right? And as Eddie knows, that can be challenging at first.
Yes.
And a lot of people are like, oh, it does, it doesn't do good things for your body. And that may be true, but for me, it allowed me to, I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So drink a gallon of water. Then you have to read 10 pages of a personal development book. Now you have to read them, not listen to it on audio. Read 10 pages in an actual physical book. Okay?
Yep.
Something on personal development. I can actually put a list of the books that I've read while I was doing this, but one of the books I read was like Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Books like that.
Right.
Then you have to also take a progress picture every day, which is harder than it seems as well.
Right.
Because that's where a lot of people mess up. They forget to take their picture.
Right.
Right. So a picture, and then is that it?
And that's it.
That's it.
So
right?
Yeah, so it's every single day. So make sure I get this right. Every single day you're going to do 2 workouts, 45 minutes each, and
Yep.
one of them has to be outside.
Yep.
You're going to do some type of a diet, something.
Yeah. Just eat right.
Eat right okay. And then
or follow a diet. I mean, if you want to go paleo, then go paleo.
Right. But just do something better than you have been in the past.
That's not the standard American diet.
Right.
Right.
And then you're going to drink a gallon of water a day, and you're going to take a progress picture every day.
And read 10 pages.
Read 10 pages of a personal development book.
Now, you can read more, but because I know me, there's times I get into a book and it's like, ooh, I don't want to stop. So
that's it? Is that all you do every day?
That's it. Every day.
So what's so hard about that?
Exactly. It doesn't seem like it'd be hard, right?
No,
but here's the thing. There is no deviation.
So if you miss up one day, then what happens?
Then you have to start over.
You have to
from
start
day one.
Start over.
If you're on day 74 and you don't do one of those tasks,
Yeah.
you start over from day one.
How many times did you start over?
Once. Well, hold on. I tried to do this program. What was it that we did 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Was it really that long ago?
Yeah.
No.
At least.
Or was it 2019 or 2018? It had to have been
I
2018.
think it was towards the end of 2018.
All right. Yeah, you know what it was? It was early 2019 too.
Yeah, right.
So I started over the first time I tried like 4 times.
Right.
Literally got to like day 30, had to start over. Got to day 15, had to start over. And then the third time I was like, fuck it, I'm done. Like I quit. Right? So I quit. And then I don't know why I got a wild hair up my ass in this like past May. So I got to day 58 and I had like a mental health crisis. Bottom line, that's what happened. And I missed a workout. And I had to start over at day 58, bro. That was rough. But I went for the last 75 days, so 133 days total. And I completed it. And now I'm taking basically 2 or 3 days off, and then I'm jumping right into what's phase 1 of 75 hard. And you know what? It's basically exactly what I just told you, but there's an addition of 3 things. So I'm not going to go into it because, you know what? I mean, if you want to look into it, go ahead and look into it. But I would just suggest do the program. And you will learn so much about yourself. Here's the other thing. Talk about gaining the respect of your family and friends. I already had it. But, like, my wife was literally like, I'm telling you, man, she looks at me different.
Really?
She just does. She just looks at me differently now, which is kind of pretty cool, you know. Like super proud, because the shit's hard. Like it doesn't seem like it's hard, but it's fucking hard, folks.
Right. Oh, no alcohol either. That was.
Oh yes, that's the big one. I forgot about that.
That's the
Holy
last
shit,
one.
no alcohol. And I am one of the. This is why I'm a little fuzzy because I drank last night. And I'm telling you, I don't want it. I really don't need the alcohol at all. The last 2 weeks, I've really been like, oh my God, I just want to drink. Oh my God, I just want to drink. And now that I've just had a drink, I'm good.
Right.
It's transformative, folks.
So what have you
I
learned
mean,
about
I'm a
yourself?
big whiskey drinker. People that know me know I fucking drank. And I drink whiskey. I don't drink anything else. The vodka here and there, like I'll crack open some Heroes vodka or, you know, one of my buddies that's got a liquor company from time to time because I only buy, but whiskey I drink Black Velvet. People are like, what? Black Velvet, that cheap, nasty shit that people don't like, never gives me a hangover. And I don't have a hangover now. I guess you could call it a hangover, but it's just fuzzy.
Yeah.
But either way. So what did I learn?
Yeah.
That I can do this shit. Like, I'm a recon Marine. I've been through a lot of hard shit. You know, what the fuck? Like, but that's... It's kind of the same. It just gives you that mental toughness back where you're like, you can't throw shit at me that I can't. You know, you can't hurt me. To use Goggins as an example. You can't hurt me. There's nothing that you can throw at me that's going to fucking hurt me. You know, other than physical pain, right?
Yeah.
And that'll hurt, but whatever. I just want, you know, trust me, the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to get hurt from working out. You're going to not feel, and you got to work through it. Got to figure it out. So what it allows you to do is really think critically, and it's allowed me to silence my bitch voice.
Mm.
Not silence it, but just be like shut up, bitch.
Like tame it. Tame that bitch.
Right. So one of the best phrases ever, and this may offend people, but I don't really care, is Sean. You know who Sean Whalen is?
Uh-huh.
Lions, not sheep, that guy.
Yeah.
His one of his favorite phrases is eat a bag of dicks. Right? So literally I think it in my head, and I'm like, I think to myself and I talk to myself, and I'm like, you know what? Eat a bag of dicks, bitch voice.
Right.
And I'm telling you, it's like it's like a click in me now. I don't complain about stuff. I used to be a no guy. Like I would say no to so much. And now I say yes to almost everything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I know what people, when I say that, there's people that get what I'm saying. I don't say no. I say yes. Like, don't be that guy anymore that says no to everything, that people look at as kind of like that grumpy old man, grumpy Uncle Bennett.
Right.
Right? I don't know, man. I'm happier. There's so much.
So if you look at the progress pictures, like day one to now, do you know what what do you notice?
I mean, I'm down. I'm not down as much weight as a lot of people might think. I've got some hormonal issues, but I think I've got those under control because I started losing weight again.
Yeah.
But I'm down just from the working out and eating right. I'm down, I guess it's like 50 pounds.
Oh, wow.
You know? I'm still a fat bastard.
Well, I mean, you can notice, you could see 50-pound difference.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
If you look at my pictures, you can see, there's a 50-pound difference.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not like showing abs or anything. You know what I mean? But still, I feel just so much better.
Right.
50 pounds is 50 pounds, right?
Like me, I'm
my
still,
joints.
I'm still rocking a 1-pack.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm rocking a keg still. So, yeah. So that was a challenge for me too, because it was like, why am I not losing weight?
Right.
But you know what? I realized none of it really matters.
What turned you onto the program to begin with? Like, how'd you find out about it?
Well, I listened to Andy's podcast, which his podcast before was MFCEO.
Yeah.
And just for business advice, like amazing. Like the guy has been through tons of shit. He's just a good businessman, right? And his brother too, Sal Frisella. So he, I got some really good information from them, and they're fun to listen to because they talk like me. They swear. They fuck you, fuck this, fuck that. They use fuck in all its great forms as a verb, adjective, and a noun, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I talk. That's why I like Gary Vee so much too.
Right. Yeah.
Because I feel like it's real. And you know what, folks? I talk to my kids that way too. And people freak out. People that are around me now, they don't really blink an eye at it now. But I'm like, listen, I'm going to be authentic.
Right.
Especially to my kids. There's nothing worse than your kid catching you being a fucking hypocrite.
Yeah.
And I refuse. So I'm not going to be like, ooh, and then in private, dropping F-bombs. Well, why can't I swear? Because that's not really... Now, like my 16-year-old, she does. She'll drop it. She's respectful to us. And that's what I'm saying. There is a time and a place usually. Right. Right?
Yeah.
Because I don't go into a board meeting and start dropping F-bombs.
Sure. Right.
I don't. I have... plenty, and I do, but I guess people expect it from me now, so they don't even think. But they also know me.
Yeah.
So it's not as trashy, because let's be honest, it can be trashy when you talk that way.
Yeah.
Right? It can be. But, yeah. Anyway, so whatever. but I found it because since I've been listening to him, he didn't have this. It's not like the program's been around for 10 years. This is like the third year, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I was on it right from the get-go. So as soon as I heard that the first episode where he talked about it, I tried it.
Well, they have an app now, but they didn't when it first came out.
And
right?
I'm telling you, the app made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Still not easy, but you can set up alerts, and you could do that. I had tried doing that with the Google,
Yeah, right.
but for some reason it didn't work. It didn't. You know what it is too is you got to be ready. You got to be in the right frame of mind for it.
It's got to be a must, right? If you go into this as a want, I failed miserably when I tried this the first few times, and I haven't successfully completed it yet.
Yeah.
The one thing that I struggle with in the program is the water consumption, to be honest with you. And
I know you had said that.
And it was, I wasn't able to find because I can't just down a whole gallon of water, right? Obviously, I don't know many people who can. So you got to kind of
I can now.
You got to space that out. So how did you manage the water consumption part of the 75 hard?
So the way that I tackled it was two things. So we've talked about this in the past. I had multiple heat injuries when I was in the military.
Yeah.
Heat stroke once, and heat exhaustion 3 or 4 times. And you know that once you've had it, you're more susceptible to it.
Right.
So this was my challenge. Drinking a gallon of water a day seemed like a smart thing to do for me, especially considering I did this across the summer. But seriously, before this, I could barely go out and mow the lawn in anything above 70 degrees, because I would literally start feeling like I was going down as a heat casualty. Right. And of course, I had drank Gatorade and I had done all these things.
You mean Powerade?
Yes, Coca-Cola.
Yep, got it.
Powerade. Gatorade. Or whatever bullshit electrolyte drink you're drinking, because those products are garbage, just so you know. They just are. They're loaded with sugar and it's not stuff. So I became a water, because I can't drink whiskey. I became a water connoisseur.
Right.
And I really looked into hydration in general. And turns out I wasn't getting enough electrolytes, the right types of electrolytes. So I was introduced to this stuff called Real Salt, right? Which is a salt company in Utah, online.
Real Salt.
Because I basically eat carnivore. That's my diet.
Okay.
I basically just eat animal products. Whole food, animal-based diet. For the most part. Like 95%, right?
Okay.
And in the carnivore community, Real Salt is a big thing, because pretty much what you eat is meat and salt.
Right.
That's about it. Well, so I was introduced to Real Salt. Well, Real Salt is an American-made mined salt from Utah. It's a pink salt, like Himalayan, but it's got it's real, right? Versus, and that's part of the reason I think they made their name Real Salt, because half the salt, I don't know if it's half, it's a lot of Himalayan sea salt is counterfeit. Right. It's not real. It's like dyed pink rock salt.
Yeah.
Right. It's from Pakistan. Nothing against Pakistan.
But it's not the Himalayas.
But it's not the Himalayas. It's the foothills. There's part of the Himalayas is in Pakistan. Yeah. But it's either way, it's not just that. It's American made, and I like to support American companies if I can. And it just tastes different. And it's full of all these minerals, right?
You put that in your water?
I started with that, right? There's also another guy that I was introduced to that it's called the snake diet, right? So he's got this stuff called snake juice that he makes Now, this is taking it to an extreme level, so I'm not even going to go into that. But if you want to look into it, it's the snake diet, snake juice. It's a lot of intermittent fasting and stuff, which is also something that I've been doing, and I find that it helps with my clarity and all these different things, right?
Yeah.
And just really good things for my body. But real salt, so I started there, but they then started making an electrolyte drink called Relight. And it literally has changed my life.
How do you spell that?
Relyte, Relight. And you can buy it online from Redmond. I think you can buy it on Amazon too.
And you put that in your water?
Yeah, 1 scoop, and for me, I put 1 scoop per half gallon.
Okay.
This is the other thing that I did. I bought a half-gallon jug.
Okay.
Which is a big-ass jug.
Yep.
And a lot of people use just a gallon jug and walk around with that, right?
Wow.
But that seemed like I couldn't put a gallon jug in my backpack. So
right.
I bought a half gallon, and I'm like, all I have to do is drink 2 of these a day. It gets easier too, by the way.
I'm
so
sure.
once you're like 30 days in, you're like, okay. But the Relight changed the game for me because it actually made me want to drink water.
Okay.
And you're not pissing your electrolytes out. You're unfortunately, purified water is not really good for you because there's nothing in it.
Right.
Right? So you need stuff in your water.
Now, did you put the Relight in both of your half-gallon segments or
Yep.
just one?
Yeah, in both. I put it in both. I basically drink it all day, every day now.
So did you have like a time fence kind of a thing where you're like, okay, by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I have to have my first half gallon gone?
Yeah, my first half gallon, my goalpost was noon.
Noon, okay, and then
So lunchtime, and then
gave
I
you the
would
rest of the
refill
day.
at lunch. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then I would refill at lunch.
Yeah.
And I didn't drink as much, as fast in the afternoon.
Right.
But you got to realize the window's not that small for me because I wake up at 4.
Right. Sure.
So it's still a, long time. So that was a challenge that was difficult, as Eddie knows.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it right, if you don't space it out, it can be bad for you, frankly, because you can actually cause yourself to piss your electrolytes out.
Yeah, that's what the other thing too. When I was at work and I would be drinking that much, and
Oh yeah,
I was constantly. I had to I couldn't even sit through meetings. I had to get up and go to the bath.
And your body will adjust.
Yeah.
But you find that if you add the electrolytes, you'll have to go to the bathroom less too.
Okay.
Because
Your
you're
body's
basically
using it,
adding
right?
you're basically adding sodium, magnesium, potassium.
Right.
That's basically what you're adding.
Now, a lot of people listening to this might have a question about water retention. Like, if you drink that much water and you've got the sodium, doesn't that just
Make you bloated?
Doesn't that carry a lot of body water?
I haven't found that it does.
Water weight?
And maybe it did at first, but I can't remember at this point.
Because a lot of people, to lose weight quickly, they'll actually take hydroxycut, which actually sucks all the water out of your body. And
yeah, and that's not real weight loss. It's it's garbage.
Yeah, I did that
like a diuretic.
Yeah, I did that a while ago. Man, I had serious headaches. It just made me feel awful.
So I used to have muscle cramping and stuff too, at night.
Yeah.
I'd wake up and I knew that I was drinking, but I drank a decent amount of water.
Right.
Once I started using the Relight, nothing. Gone.
Now,
Zero leg cramps in the middle of the night.
Now, once you're drinking the gallon a day, did you find you just didn't have the capacity to drink anything else? Were you not drinking soda or
no? I don't
coffee or anything.
I would drink coffee too, in the morning.
Okay.
The other thing too is, I drank a lot more actually than a gallon, because I drank a gallon no matter what of that water. I didn't count sparkling waters and things like that, because I do drink sparkling water as well. But I never counted that as part of my gallon.
Okay.
I think part of it is I just made it idiot proof. I said, you have to drink 2 of these a day, no matter what. and that's it.
Right.
So actually, I drink more than a gallon.
So of the components for you, what was the hardest?
For me, the hardest part initially was taking the photo.
Oh, okay. Just remembering to?
Yeah. The rest of this stuff is, for me, was kind of easy because I already had incorporated it in my life. And that's what people think. Oh, I already do that anyway.
Uh-huh.
No, you don't.
Right.
No, you don't. It may make it easier, but when you put something on it, the picture, no, maybe you do take pictures of yourself every day. I was not the guy that took selfies.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's easier for some people or not, right?
I think everybody that does this challenge is going to find one component harder than others.
Absolutely.
Right? Like
I don't see how they couldn't.
Right. Some people may just really struggle with the finding time to read 10 pages. Some people may struggle with alcohol. No alcohol for that period of time.
Right.
Some people are going to struggle with, especially those who live in the Northeast when it gets bitter cold outside, finding time to get outside and doing the 45-minute workout outside, right?
So, like, the diet part for me was pretty easy because if I go off of my diet, I feel like dog shit. So it's not worth it to me.
So to me, it seems like this program, like it wants you to have an element of suck, right?
Yeah, well, that's because you grow that way,
right? Because it's like it's 75 hard in the title, and it is much harder than it sounds. But I think it like the whole point of the program is for this to challenge you to do something that is uncomfortable, inconvenient, and sucks.
Yes. I mean, it's a program, too. It's not a challenge.
Right.
It's a tool. This is a tool to drastically change your life forever, basically. And to come back if you ever find yourself off course again.
Right.
Right? So this shit, it's a year-long program total. But like I said, I'm not going to go into details about the other parts other than it's starts with 75 hard. Right?
Do that first. Don't worry about everything else.
Do that first.
Yeah. Because if you don't do the 75 hard part, none of it matters. Right.
But then it's another 3 months of stuff after that.
Right.
Staggered throughout the year, and there's reasons for it. It's like when we're in the military. There's a reason, and everything you do in boot camp, there's a reason for it.
Right.
As stupid as it may seem, there's a reason for everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They don't talk to you about your military occupational specialty when you're in boot camp because what's the point? You got to get
doesn't matter.
You got to get through boot camp first, right?
Yep.
Focus on that, and then you graduate to the next phase, right?
Yep. So for me, it's really I have way more confidence than I had before, right? Confidence in myself,
right?
Because what's our big thing? Trust, gratitude, and forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I had self-trust issues for a long time because of my judgment. I've had failed businesses, I've had failed marriages. We all have failure, right?
Sure.
And things with relationships and parents and just life in general. I was at a point where I really didn't trust myself, frankly, to make the correct decisions.
Yeah.
It was awful. So be completely confident in yourself and my actions. I am now, right? So trust, huge. Self-trust. Also really learned how to manage my day, right? And not wasting time on meaningless bullshit. Because half the stuff we do is just nonsense.
Sure. And that's the funny...
that's
the thing
half.
is, a lot of people are saying, well, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. But just like, when you start dissecting your day... But it's wait a minute, you had time to binge watch 3 episodes of that show.
Right. Every time I hear somebody say that, like you said it earlier about watching the 60 days in.
Yeah.
I mean, of course you have to have some downtime, right? But if you're not working out, you got to go, well, you do have time.
Right.
If you just watched 4 episodes of an hour-long show,
Right.
motherfucker, you have time.
You've got time.
And
Exactly.
everything else is just an excuse.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. It allowed me to manage my day and take away the excuses.
Right.
I mean, bro, there's times when I would be busy with my kids because like I said, it also turned me into a yes man, right? So I would take my kids places, like they'd ask, Dad, and before I'd be like, no, I'm tired.
Right.
I just want to watch whatever Joe Shit the Ragman fighting with swords on fucking Netflix, right?
Uh-huh.
Instead, I would take them places, or we would go as a family, and I would drag the family and like, let's go for a nature walk. Let's get it out in nature. Like, so it changed the dynamic. I mean, now my daughter is going to the gym every freaking day almost.
Right.
And my wife, she's always walked. Always.
Yep.
So that kind of fulfilled a dream in her, saying, I want to be able to walk with my husband daily.
Right.
And now we do that. And that literally is like one of her dreams. It may sound paltry, but it is what it is. Right? So, develop amazing relationships with people who matter in your life, because you realize what really does matter. And you realize where the fat is.
Yeah.
Right? Where the fat that you need to cut out in your life is.
Yep.
Gain independence and ability to take complete ownership of projects and tasks, right? And that comes with confidence. It also comes with, what does Jocko always say? Discipline equals freedom.
Right.
It just does, folks. It does. Because you're in control of what you do now.
Right. Instead of being the victim of circumstance.
Right. Or the slave to whatever.
Right.
Right? You fucking fill in the blank. Slave to blah. Whatever. Completely overhaul the way you think and act. And it just does. How can it not?
Right.
It's so simple, right? But it ain't easy. And you know what, folks? This is the bullshit that all these other gurus are fucking selling.
Right.
But you ever notice how they always talk about the shit, but they never give you the tools to be more confident, to have more self-esteem, to build self-worth, build self-belief, fortitude, and grittiness. Not for free, they don't.
Right.
And what Andy shows you with this program, or this tool, is that it's in you. It's not some fucking system that you have to, buy.
Right.
For $6,000. I'm sure some of that stuff helps. Of course it does. But it's not going to help you unless you get to one. How much, we talk about this in business all the time. Getting from 0 to 1 is the hardest.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thing. Going from 1 to 10, it's just steps.
Yep.
Getting from 0 to 1 is all about execution.
Right.
And if you don't fucking execute, you go nowhere. And that's what this gives you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know how necessarily. You just know that it does. I'm telling you. And it really gives, I think a lot of this is it's character too, because you can't lie to yourself.
Right.
If you don't do the 75 days correctly, you're just a fucking liar.
Right.
You are just a liar, and you're lying to the most important person in your life, and that's you. It's like you can look in the mirror and know that you're a fucking liar. Right?
Yeah.
And talk about trust, talk about forgiveness, talk about gratitude, all we want. But if you can't trust yourself, who the fuck can you trust?
Right, no kidding.
The rest of it means nothing, frankly.
Yeah.
You're just a fucking liar. And if you're going to lie to yourself, what else are you lying about? Who are you lying to? Right?
Yep, right.
So talk about fucking personal development. If for anything else, do it for that, because you don't trust yourself. And you can look in the mirror every fucking day and go, yep, at least I'm honest with myself.
Right.
At least for 75 days I was. But, again, then it goes on for phase 1, which is 30 days. Phase 2 is also 30 days. And phase 3 is 30 days. But that's down the road. Start with the 75 hard part. So, yeah, man.
That's interesting. You've now motivated me, sir, to give this another shot.
Yeah.
And I think this would be a great opportunity to kind of report back to you.
Yeah, and you know
and
what?
the listeners kind of like the progress, right?
Here's what I'm going to give you. The advice that I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
Just don't talk about it.
Okay.
Just do it. Just fucking do it. Like, we don't have to go through it on episodes. Come back to in 75 days.
When it's all done?
Yep, it's all done. I did it.
Okay.
Because otherwise, just don't make a thing out of it. Because
Right.
it's because people like the idea of finishing it, right?
Yeah.
And they get caught up in the hype. The only thing I did the entire 75 days was I posted my my daily I'm done. I posted it on an Instagram story.
Right.
But that was it. I never talked about 75 hard after that.
Okay.
That was the only thing that I did, was I posted it on my food site, my whole food animal based site,
Yep.
and on my personal IG.
Interesting.
That's it. Everything else, and because it's, don't give people the opportunity to be like, that's fucking stupid. Why the fuck would you do that?
Right.
Because as soon as people found out that I'd started over after day 58, they're like, you're fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, at least I'm fucking honest to myself, and
Yep.
I can look at myself in the mirror, and that's character right there.
Sure.
So I say, just shut the fuck up about it and do it, right?
That's some good
Like
advice.
so often you see people, I'm doing 75 hard on day 1, like they make it public as fuck. Some people might need that accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I figured out though that I didn't need, the only accountability I needed was me.
Right.
Because doing it for other people, I find that if you're really vocal about it, you're doing it for other people. You're doing it for the look at me.
Right.
And that's detrimental to me, in my opinion. For me, it was. It might be exactly what you need. I don't know.
No,
Right.
I think that makes sense, right?
I find that you need that accountability buddy. And for me, that was my wife.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I feel like I had failed her many times.
Yeah.
Just with,
So
dumb shit.
what was her take on it when you started? Was she just like, oh, here
She
we
was all
go.
in. Yeah, kinda.
Okay, here we go. Another program.
Another
Yeah.
program. Oh, we're trying this again. We're going to do this again. So she would never say that, but
Yeah.
I know it. And you know what? That might have been me putting words on her, but now the way that she looks at me is different. So I know it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Because what the fuck can she say?
Right.
I mean, she was there every day, 133 days, and no drinking, working out. Hey, come on with me. I mean, I never was like, hey, let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
Never. Fuck that. I'm just gonna sit here and eat some meatballs
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
I'm gonna go do a podcast episode or whatever. But now
Exactly.
what's funny is, remember, we would always complain, we don't have time.
Right.
Because you have to take the time, motherfuckers.
Got to make it. Yeah.
You gotta make it. And we have so much time. You just have to have the priorities straight. And know that episodes of fucking Game of Thrones is not better. You know what? Fucking walk with a goddamn phone and watch it while you walk. I don't give a fuck. Go walk on a treadmill. I'm just
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
Right? Don't use this as an excuse.
Yeah, man.
So, until I lost a bunch of the weight, like the first weight, all I did was walk. I walked twice a day. That ended up fucking up my legs a little bit, but so then I went back to the gym.
Right.
And I feel amazing. So, yeah, man.
All right, man. I'm digging it. I like it. Thanks for sharing your story, and I'm looking forward to anybody out there that...
If you want to go check it out, 75 Hard, there are books, but they're very hard to come by.
Yeah,
because he doesn't have them like on Amazon. Whatever publisher he uses, he buys them in batches.
Right.
So he'll do like a run of like 1,000 books. Bro, they're sold out in a day.
Right.
But the app, I would highly advise people to go to the app. I will post, the episodes that you need to listen to.
Yeah.
I'll post those somewhere for us, like in the group, probably in the squad? Probably in our Facebook page, not just the squad, but I'll post them in the squad, but I'll also post them on the Facebook page, since we haven't really figured out our website situation. We will have a website. It's just we're gonna do it the right way.
Yeah, I like it,
and the cheap way, because we've realized that you just spending money on that shit is
right.
We don't want a fancy website anyway. We just want simple. So
yeah, exactly.
We have to do the work. So yeah, but
cool,
there's a great page that's on andyfrisella.com that talks about it, and we'll just post all this stuff. So
we shall.
Yep.
Well, thank you, sir. You're
very welcome.
Brings us to the end of our show. Thank you very much for making time for us today. And hey, you can even listen to our show while you're outside doing one of your 45-minute walks or jogs or runs or whatever exercises.
Absolutely. And that's where I get most of my podcast stuff in now.
Right.
I listen to that while I kind of have backed off of audiobooks a little bit because I have to read.
Right.
So I'm finding though that I'm listening to audiobooks that are like fiction.
Oh, it's more of an entertainment type of thing.
Yeah, instead of a nonfiction thing.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool now.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Different, but definitely cool.
Very cool. Well, thank you, sir. Good chatting with you.
Absolutely, as usual and always. And as everyone knows, go ahead. If you want to find us, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Are we on Twitter?
Yeah, we're on there.
I don't have access to it anymore.
Change your POV.
And now, this is an announcement, we are on Parler and Tumblr.
Ooh, Tumblr.
And another newer social media network called Winkin.
I never heard of that.
Yep, exactly. So I'm just kind of putting stuff out there. Okay.
Yeah. Do you think that there'll ever come a time where Facebook becomes kind of overtaken by a different platform?
I don't know. It's hard to say, but I mean, it's happened. Facebook did it to another company, MySpace.
Yeah. So Facebook's been feeling a lot of heat and pressure within Congress.
Who knows? I mean, it's a billion-dollar company. So,
yeah.
I mean, multi-billion-dollar company. So I don't think they're going anywhere. But I mean, Parler right now is the fastest-growing alternative site.
Yeah.
I mean, millions of followers now. It's kind of more like Twitter, but they don't. The thing is that they don't. Supposedly, they don't censor.
Right.
But I have a feeling they probably censor like the left-wing side of things a little bit.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Exactly. So we'll see. So it's basically like a right-wing Twitter.
Right.
And you know what? I follow some of that shit, so why not? Why not advertise? Why not put our show out there to the masses for people to listen? So.
Right. Cool. Very cool, man. Well, you have yourself a fantastic week, and By the time we reconvene next week, we'll have successfully navigated Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
So that'll be interesting.
That should be fun. So everyone have a happy Thanksgiving, which will be tomorrow as you're listening.
Yep.
Enjoy times with your family. And I know a lot of people are under restriction and whatnot, but you know what I have to say to that, folks, is be safe, be smart about things. If you have people that are at risk, be smart with that. But otherwise, if you're healthy people, go fuck yourself with the people telling you to freaking quarantine.
Right.
I think it's madness. If you're healthy, young people that can handle this stuff, and if you get sick, that you will be one of the 99.9 people that live, then you should. But be careful of those that are at risk.
Yeah.
Bottom line. This is real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Not a conspiracy theory.
It's not a conspiracy theory. And you know what? Even if it was a pandemic, it doesn't mean it's not killing people. So,
right.
Again, just be safe with the people that are at risk, and just be a good human. So,
good humans. Nice.
All right.
Cool, bro.
Yeah, man.
Talk to you later.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Change Your Point of View podcast. Pull up a chair and get a seat at the table and be a part of the conversation. Connect with us over on Facebook at our closed Facebook group called Change Your POV Squad. Let us know what you think of the show, good, bad, or indifferent. We'd love to hear your thoughts.